All right, bam, bam, bam. We're live. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Let people get in here. Second time talking. Being able to do these YouTube streams has helped get more people on, and where it's not we're not waiting a year between visits. Clem, the resident Giants fan of Barstool, he does a lot of mess stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Clem, what's going on, man? How you feeling on this 4-game winning streak?
Bobby, I'm just so happy we're here right now, man. I'm just so happy we've made it. We survived this long and we got to see it. Like you said, I do the Giants at Barstool. I do the Mets. I do just nonsensical stories, whatever. I've started at Barstool part-time in 14, full-time in 15. And I also cover the Knicks too. That's like my third beat, I guess you would say.
Oh, that's right.
I've never had a more challenging season than this as a blogger because I mean, you know how it is like it was like a civil war between Giants fans, right? And when we would say civil war, it's a little extreme, but like I think this season at the beginning of the year, I think there was like a little divide happened where it's like the people who wanted to believe in Coach Judge, get ready, get excited, and then the people who just like kept being like same old Gettleman, same old Giants, we stink. And I think me, you, and Justin were more on like the optimistic side. And then the pessimists were obviously getting louder as we just kept losing games over and over. And I tried to come on last week and I had some things come up at home. Like, you're like, don't worry. It's a 3-game winning streak. Don't worry. If you can't do this, we'll be on a 4-game winning streak. And here we are, man. And that win on Sunday was like just a 1,000,000-pound gorilla off my back. I mean, we've been fighting the Daniel Jones, trying to like hype him up, trying to hype up Judge, the team. And finally, I feel like we're almost a united fan base again, man. It feels so good right now. And I'm terrified about we're almost flying too high, but it feels good right now. How are you feeling right now?
It's good. I've forgotten what like winning feels like, and I said we're cocky now. We're 5-7, and I just feel cocky like we've won a Super Bowl. Or like we've won a Super Bowl. We're in that territory because I mean we're in first place, and I think being 0-5, 1-7 makes us feel because I mean it was miserable, and like you said, you start hating people that like also talk about the Giants. It's like I hate them, and then when you're winning, it's like I love everybody. Like I want to talk to everybody. I want everybody's opinion on everything. I'll listen to everybody's Giants content. I'll read everybody's article compared to when we're losing. So, and it doesn't feel fluky either, which is crazy. Like it doesn't feel fluky that they're in first place. Like we're one game out of the wild card right now, so I forget about that too.
I didn't even look at like the wild card standings. I was so focused on the division. I was like, I feel like we have to be close to some point because obviously the Cardinals have like slipped down and a lot of the other teams as well. That was the most frustrating thing about those is like we were losing games by 2 points, 1 point. And when I'm listening to NFL content, I'm big into fantasy, and they'd be like, oh, coming up in this team schedule, they play, both New York teams or the New York teams. I'm like, we're not a joke team. I understand like Twitter, like we kind of became the Twitter punchlines as the Browns got better. We kind of got slipped into the Browns role. It was like Jets, Bengals, Giants, and it was so frustrating. I'm like, this team every week we were close against the Bucks, close against the Rams, close against the Bears when they were like, I don't know. The Bears loss doesn't look as good now as it did maybe back, but like that defense was different then than it is now. And I was like, this team is good, and now finally we're all together. Like you said, you can't get enough Giants content. Just put it all in my ears, put it all in my eyes, and it just feels good to have like a pretty united fan base. And that's really what scares me though, Bobby. Like we are so goddamn loud and obnoxious right now for a team that's not at 500. I'm not happy. I want to put on the record. I am not happy Washington won on Monday night, but I'm happy that they're as cocky now too. So that we're not going down, like we'll be going down together with this because they're starting to get loud too. And it's like, I don't know. We heard all the NFC's jokes all year. At some point, it does just grate on you, and you're just like, we're not that bad of a team. And I like the guys. I like the coaches. I like everything about this team. Dave Gettleman is getting like a second life right now. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. We got Flex in the Sunday Night Football. So it's not just us, we got Flex in the Sunday Night Football, which is a game I thought they'd feature, which I will say pissed me off. Like they knew Odell was going to get hurt. I don't know why they put that at the end of the year. Like I was looking forward to facing Odell. I actually was kind of – I went back on my Odell hate, and then this past week it's like, oh, yeah, now I remember why we traded you. But I was looking forward to playing him regardless.
When that interview came out and, I just saw the Giants fans, and it really is like the ex-girlfriend that you're like, man, we had some good times together. It's like – but then you like look at your body, you're like, man, she hurt me. She broke my heart a million different ways. And I saw your video and a lot of Giants fans, the tweets and stuff like that. And at this point, it's like we're on to Arizona, even though the Browns are next week. It's like we're on to Arizona, we're on to Joe Judge, we're on to Daniel Jones, we're on to whoever's on this team right now. Those Odell years were awesome. And the thing is, he wasn't even wrong what he said. Like, if you're gonna shit on Jerry Reese and Pat Shurmur, like I'll shit on him with you, Odell. But like, he wasn't blameless in the situation. I think we'll come to that.
That's what he did and we'll finish. I don't feel like spending a ton of time on Odell. Is he played on our heartstrings with like they didn't build around Eli, and everyone's like, yeah, and then he's like, I didn't do anything really wrong, and then it's like everyone forgets about that part.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start answering some questions. Cody Buckheit says, when we get into the playoffs, who would you all rather face, the Seahawks or the Bucs? Now, I'll just say this: what team that is reasonable do you want to face? For me, it's the Bucs. I will never ever be afraid of Tom Brady. And last time the Bucs were in the playoffs was their last game was a loss to us in 2007 in the first round.
Yep, Jeff Garcia. I hate like picking the team and then this comes like a guillotine overhead, but it's the Bucs just because Russell Wilson scares the ever living shit out of me. I still can't believe like that ball didn't come down. And it's not only because he's a great quarterback, which he obviously is. There's black magic, there's voodoo, there's something with the Seahawks in general and Russell Wilson that like nothing is ever over until it's over, until the zeros are on the scoreboard. You're gonna get the weird plays. I mean, you knew like as soon as that safety was in, it's like, yep, this is a Seahawks game officially now. We get doinks, we get safeties, weird scores, all that stuff. So it's just I don't want that black magic Russell Wilson, playoff Russell Wilson. Give me Tom Brady. And again, we could kind of like relive all that Patriot glory from the last two Super Bowls.
Yeah, and I feel like the Seahawks can look at what we did and adjust, where the Bucs that's just kind of like, I don't know, we feel like we're a good matchup. Andrew Thomas has improved. That's what's been crazy, man. And we can talk about that. Andrew Thomas going from, he was getting worse every week. It wasn't like he had a bad game here and there. It was like the first game, I was like, franchise left tackle. We found him. Suck it. I told you all. And then every game he was getting worse. And then, which we could talk about Colombo. And then once Judge Supposedly took over Tampa, it just it's gotten better every week since.
Yeah, and I mean, you obviously crushed those like the old line breakdowns and all that stuff. And again, someone who's me is a little more casual fan, like appreciates stuff like that. But this is the thing that drove me crazy about even the previous regimes is I never felt like the coaching staffs were filled out with any real thought behind them. And when Judge was hiring these coaches, I remember blogging about them. Like, I wonder who's going to read a blog. Barstool's more of a comedy and a pretty casual sports site, and I'm getting fired up about Coach Chaos getting hired. And and I'll admit, like I wanted Callahan, but I heard there was a lot of bad blood with him and Garrett, and I almost wish that they had chose Callahan over Garrett. I don't know how it all worked, and obviously the Browns are doing pretty well with him up there in Cleveland running the ball. But Colombo, I mean, Joe Judge is a football coach. That's apparently what I'm hearing. I hate to sound like the F-list announcers we get and say such a dumb phrase. What did you see? Oh, you saw Schlereth.
I was going at it with him, dude.
Yeah, you were going at it with him.
I know Schlereth has been cool with you guys, and he always seemed like a fun guy to be around. I'd never seen someone melt down, like an announcer melt down like that, and two, it'd be one thing because Twitter can suck sometimes, and people will say screwed up stuff to you, and you'll come back with right. He was wrong in everything he said. Like everything he said was like, hey, you're completely. I've never seen like that was. I've tried to stay away from like screwing with the big accounts and like trashing them, but that was the most fun I've had on Twitter in a long time. Was Mark Schlereth just losing his mind on Sunday night?
And it was clear him and Colombo are buddies, or they have some sort of thing going on. And hey, like I understand you have to like defend your guy, but to go at the fans and listen. Don't go at Art Stapleton. I love that fucking guy. That guy's awesome.
I know, like the nicest guy ever.
Like whenever I see people like who are the Giants writers you follow, or who's a good guy, it's like Art Stapleton and Dan Duggan. I know you do some of them too. Those are the two guys who always are mentioned, and they're just really good at their jobs, and they're just like nice dudes. And Art didn't even like call out anybody. And I was on my couch. Two things I try not to get too upset about because it's such an old man trope is to yell about the announcers and the refs. But I think it's pretty fair. The refs have really done a number on us this year. I hope that maybe this second act, we can start getting those calls back. But the announcers, like that Monday night game against the Bucs, they were calling Sterling Shepard the wrong name. They were calling everything Steve Levy said was just wrong. And then Schlereth, he was every time Jamal Adams or DK Metcalf breathed, it was like the greatest thing on earth. And I'm like, he gave Jamal Adams credit for running past Wayne Gallman on that 60-yard run.
Wayne Gallman like to do like the stutter step, like ran past. Like if you did that in Madden to someone, that was like you just disrespected them with that juke. And then Mark Sarah's like, can you believe this guy? He ran fast and got juked. This guy's amazing.
Unreal. So yeah, don't get Art Stapleton. That's like the first. As a Mets guy, I know Mets Twitter how they work. We're relearning Giants Twitter now that we're United Force. Don't go at Art Stapleton. That's one quick way to unite this savage group of fans together.
And like you said, Art didn't even say anything to him. It was weird. You mentioned the Mets, and I know we'll get back on Giants. I just want to say this because everyone loves Steve Cohen. I know you guys do. Do you see him being on Twitter? It's awesome right now. But I, as a Yankee fan, cannot wait for it to fail and him being on Twitter to go. It's going to go completely sideways. It's going to be like, oh, fun, Uncle Steve, to like, this asshole won't get off Twitter while we're losing.
Like you said, you said the ugly side of Twitter and all the stuff that comes along with it. Yes, I do worry. I know all the different ways you can get in trouble on Twitter. You tweet something, you think something you think is a DM that ends up going public. Ray Allen, the infamous Ray Allen tweet. You have something you like, something you retweet, anything. There's a million different ways they can find ways to like get you. Having the basic guy on Twitter now is a terrifying thought. And again, older people usually aren't as good at technology, right? Did you see Woody Johnson's tweet today?
No, what did he say?
Brandon Tierney had a quote about like Jets deserve better than this. The Jets fans, this franchise, just doesn't care. And Woody Johnson just tweeted. It was like a reply to that tweet. It was at you space I. That's all it said. It was clearly like a butt dial, but he was clearly looking at a tweet that was about the Jets. He hadn't tweeted. He tweeted something in August. He retweeted a Trump tweet because obviously he's like the ambassador to England. And the last tweet before that was last Christmas. So Woody Johnson's just lurking on Twitter, looking at all the different replies about the Jets. And it's like, that's kind of a bad look for your owner. I think that he's straight up looking at like all the hate mail and not saying anything. So it's kind of the other side of it, right? Where it's like you have an owner who's quiet and then just gets caught kind of looking at all the negative press, but not saying anything. The fan base is like, listen, guys, we're going to right the ship. I promise you. So I like having a guy that's the face of the franchise talking right now. But I do fully admit my career is based on people screwing up on Twitter, right? Like that's a layup of a blog for me right there. So I hear you for sure. You Yankee fans, though, you're also praying for this. You're waiting for the Mets side of things to come in and the Mets to Mets. And if the Mets with Steve Cohen, I will fully admit this is a cursed franchise, but I live by the like mantra that it's sports. It's all about ownership. The Cubs, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, they were all jokes for years. The ownerships came in and they've all won a World Series. If you hire Theo Epstein, that probably helps your case. But other than that, like a lot of money and people who know what they're doing, I think Steve Cohen will be the guy to do that to the Mets next. And I know all you Yankee fans are really hoping that doesn't happen right now.
I know Yankees fans try to pretend they don't care because, like, the whole little brother, big brother thing. But I am proud that I hate the Mets. I don't pretend to be like, oh, I hope they do well. I hate the Mets.
I appreciate Yankee fans that at least let it know as it is. And, as Mets fans, it's the little brother thing. I do root against the Yankees because of Yankees fans. Like those 90s Yankees. Oh,
we're assholes, and I love it.
Yeah. The gabagools, you know what I mean? The guys with their chains, and they were the guys who made my childhood a living nightmare as I lived through a dynasty. And they made me feel like I didn't know baseball just because my team was a bunch of goddamn idiots. So it's going to be interesting. It should be fun. And if both teams like rise back up and are competing again, I will say this. And I don't like obsess about the Yankees, and the better the Mets are, the less I care about the Yankees. That's the God's honest truth. We don't really need them, but if we sign DJ LeMahieu, I know how much that would hurt you guys. That would absolutely crush you guys. And I kind of want it to happen, even though it really doesn't make sense for our team. I kind of just want to it would be like a little like return payment for the last few years. Every time Pete Alonso strikes out, and you guys are talking about Aaron Judge. I'm like, Aaron Judge isn't even playing. There's a lot of like beef going on here. There's always
our company. One of the people in our company is like the main culprit of that, and it's funny because he's the nicest guy in the world, but on Twitter he's like a huge troll, and it's like kind of crazy. You're full props, and I crack up every time. Oh man, baseball. Let's get See, now I just got the chat flooded with baseball, but it's cool. How about this? He says for Clem, Lemieux, or Hernandez. How about forget like the either or. How about we have two guys that they're like identical twins in Nick Gates and Shane Lemieux playing next to each other with that long hair.
I'm gonna say this. I think all right. So like I've seen the numbers and all that stuff, and obviously you've seen that you've broken out the team more than I could. I feel like Hernandez is probably the more complete guy and the better pass protector. But if Lemieux's a better run guy, and the way this team is going, obviously you need that guy. I'm going to choose Lemieux, and I don't even think he's the right answer, just because I love hearing Brian Baldinger. He gets so fired up. Shane Lemieux here. He loves Shane Lemieux so much. And again, I love that he chose Mario Lemieux's number. That kind of was like a cheap way to get to my heart. I'm not even a hockey fan, but I just love that it would be the guy who would choose the number 66 for Mario Lemieux. So I'll say Lemieux just because of Brian Baldinger, as weird as it sounds. But as you tell me a lot more as the tape guy, like what would you say?
So I've been labeled as a Lemieux hater because I'm like, I think Hernandez is better. But what I think is Lemieux got drafted in the 5th round and he's a competent starter. Yeah, I think he has issues, but they're definitely fixable. The fact that this guy's in the 5th round and we're having a debate is a good thing. I like Hernandez more than most. Like Hernandez is never going to be that dominant all-pro guy, the Richie Incognito comparison that he got after the draft. But I just think he's like a good, solid guy who would start for, almost every team in the NFL.
I feel like he was a high second round pick. It was that time when we really needed linemen. He had a good rookie season, and we just like fell in love with him. We're like, oh my God, someone that actually knows how to block somebody. And he did have that mean streak, that incognito streak and all that stuff. I feel like it slipped a little. And again, a guy in the 5th round playing, competing with your second rounder. I mean, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Great, Marlo Stanfield. So didn't know
we haven't had depth for a year. It's weird to have like depth, like because every year you could go into every year and be like, if this guy makes a step, and it's like what we forget is like, yeah, but if we lose 3 guys, we're screwed because we're playing Corey Ballantyne at nickel corner. It's nice to have depth. Like we have Xavier McKinney, and it's like we can't get him on the field because we have too many good safeties and corners out there right now.
Yeah, exactly. And this always used to happen with old Giants teams, I feel, is you'd have an injury and the team's identity would change when you plugged in a new lineman. Like I was actually watching before it came on the 2011 season highlights, and Mitch Petrus. Remember he came in and he just got this like nasty streak to us, and I love that. And that was like one of those like little stories that like a newspaper would run with on like a Wednesday or something. It wouldn't be this huge thing like Victor Cruz was that year, but like you can't deny that makes a difference. And the way the team has played with the running game since he's come in has been incredible. So it's also, I feel like it might have been a little bit with the schedule we played too. No, but we've played like some decent front lines in that time too. So I don't know, just whatever makes Brian Baldinger happy. That's my answer to basically.
I love Baldy. Baldy's like he's like my I can't do the scribbly like this guy. Like I can't do that, but he is like my film guy. It's like I love watching Baldy's videos.
Can you break your finger like him? Can you like just so then you at least have like a messed up digit, a mangled finger?
He's nuts, dude. I promise we're gonna try and get him on in the offseason at some time. He's a fun dude. And the thing is he's not like doesn't have like Giants roots. Like I think he used to call Eagles games for like their preseason games. Like and he played for them, and I've seen him like tweet about like the Sixers and stuff. He's like a Philly guy and he loves the Giants.
He went, I think he went to Massapequa, but his biggest thing was he's a Duke guy. So I remember he was pro Daniel Jones, and I blogged a video where he just did like 2 minutes of all the guys at Duke like dropping passes that were wide open. And he's like, he's playing with accountants, and all these other guys in the ACC are playing with future NFL players. And that was I've always liked him even back when he was on TV. But just the way when he did the Redskins house the other day, like broke my heart. I'm like, Baldy, I know you do everyone, but like I feel like you're kind of like he loves us the most right now. Let's call it.
Oh yeah, every Monday morning we're the first one, so that means he loves it. Monday morning is I got to get this out for Giants fans. He loves us the most.
He was calling Joe Judge and his little elves. I'm like, Baldy, I don't even know where you're going with this Christmas thing, but I absolutely love it, man. It was great. So Shane Lemieux, let's keep doing it, baby. Keep locking these guys to hell.
Yeah, I like Baldy. Let's see what we got in here. Rams are up 10-0. I thought the Patriots were back, and it seems like oh, that's what I was going to ask you since the Patriots. No, you interact with Jets fans a little more than we do.
Mm-hmm.
How much is it killing them that Leonard Williams is having a career year? He's like third in sacks in the entire NFL right now, or something like that.
I it's the weirdest thing. And again, I understand this mindset as a Mets fan. The Giants, Mets, Gypsies, we're rare. We're a rare breed, but we do exist. And I understand that little brother mentality when you come at the guys. I would have so many Jets fans just come in my mentions, like without me talking to them, or sometimes it's if you reply to a tweet, I understand. But if you're coming out of nowhere and you're just adding me and you're going like Leonard Williams sucks, thanks for Sam Darnold, all this kind of stuff, it's then like, and I am one of those people that I'm usually pretty indifferent about the Jets. Like when Rex Ryan covered the Lombardis, I was pissed, right? And I was like, let's kill these guys. And then it just disappears for 4 years. I am enjoying it so much. It's not even, it's the Jets fans and all the Leonard Williams. If I go through all my mentions from the last year, all the nonsense I here, and then the Giants fans, those negative Giants fans who are just harping on the trade the whole time. Like, guys, listen, it was a bad trade. Like, we can make the best out of this and hope it works out, though. Like, let's just not harp on the Leonard Williams things. And his name would trend every time. So that's why I always tweet it out. I'm like, Leonard Williams leads all New York players, including Buffalo. That's 3 teams in sacks. And every single week, he just extends his lead. And did you say he's like 3rd in the league?
I may be wrong, but I heard something like, I think I'm wrong about that. I could look it up. But
nonetheless, though, NFC Defensive Player of the Week is ridiculous. I'd say he's probably like top 10 or so with that because he had 2.5 last week against Seattle.
2.5, and he was very close to having 3.5. Though, remember the throw Wilson had where he just like threw it, popped up in the air, and then the guy caught it like 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep. And
that was
And everyone always saying like the pressures and all this stuff, and he was never getting sacked. It's like the pressures are a good thing, and if you scheme it right, or you have other people that take some of the attention up. Listen,
we got coverage this year.
Yeah, exactly. We got coverage this year. The secondary's been great, and I think Patty Graham is just melting these guys alive, and that's kind of the reason why and everyone's like, oh, you're going to pay him off a career year, like. Again, if this is the Leonard Williams we can get, I don't think it was ever like a motivation problem with him. He's just a talented guy. I think it was just a matter of the right scheme and like the right people around him. And I don't know, man. I'm starting to live those crazy thoughts. I'm like, this looks a lot like the Patriots defense of yesteryear, the Dolphins defense kind of Miami. Like this is exactly what we signed up for. And I'm sure we could talk about Patrick Graham and kind of becoming like the hot new name out there. But like, I feel like if and when I don't want him to leave. If he leaves, I know Joe Judge is going to take time and effort to get the next guy in here. Because when they signed Graham, it was like, oh, the Dolphins coordinator, they stunk last year. They're last in the league for the first seven, as they were tanking. And it's like, no, but like this guy knows what he's talking about. So Leonard Williams, again, it's like getting a guy off the Jets. He can be better. Crazy thought, right? Nelson Aguilar every week for the Raiders is catching a 70-yard pass. It's craziness. So I think getting a guy off the Jets is a good thing. Just like getting a receiver off the Eagles pass offense right now is probably a good thing.
Nelson, I know it's been said before. I actually kind of have a low-key, like, I love Eagles fans because they're just so nuts, and like the Florida man in me has a respect for that. One of my favorite probably my favorite Eagles fans moment was the dude who saved the kid from the fire. He's like, we were just catching him. He's like, unlike throwing that Nelson Aguilar jab was maybe the best Philly moment of all time.
So Philly, just for no reason at all. A guy just saved a life, and he's just roasting the Eagles.
Imagine Nelson Aguilar watching that, like he's like a human being, and he's seeing like this dude just saving children, and he took a jab at me while he's on the news.
I saw someone on Twitter was like, my brain has melded now, where every time Aguilar makes a big play, I see his face 10 different times, and I now think that's Nelson Aguilar. It's like one of those weird things. So yeah, God bless. I almost said God bless Philly fans. God bless the passion of those sick, crazy bastards there. Like you said, the Florida man in you can appreciate that for sure.
I went on an Eagles podcast before the game, and they were like, can you give us a bold prediction, for the first game? And I'm like, a bold prediction. I was like, Darius. Well, they're like, can you give a game prediction and bold prediction? So I prefaced it like, I always pick the Giants to win. Doesn't matter who they're playing. I always pick the Giants to win. And I was like, so I was like, I'll predict we'll win. And then my bold prediction is Darius Slayton will get a couple passes and win the game over Darius Slay. And they just posted the clip of me saying, I think the Giants are going to win, and Darius Slayton is going to win the match with Darius Slay. And Eagles fans were in my mentions all day long. I was like, okay, yeah, this is why people hate Eagles fans.
They're scrappy, man. They're scrappy gutter dogs, man. I don't want to mess with them. So have you ever been to a game in Philly?
No, I haven't.
I went to a Mets game in Philly. I didn't wear a Mets shirt though. I didn't want to get like stuff. But I have a couple buddies who wore Giants stuff to Philly, and they had like people like throwing shit at them, wanted to fight them, stuff like that. Man, just a goddamn group of savages.
Well, here's something. I've never been to an Eagles game. I've been to all the Florida stadiums. I've been at a Bucs game, a Jaguars game, a Dolphins game. I've seen an Eagles fan be kicked out of all those games, and the Eagles weren't playing.
Yo, that's
every time.
Oh man, oh god, I don't. Oh, they are the best. They are the worst. I'm just so happy they're going to eat themselves alive right now. Like that's like when Twitter's the best is when they have the night game and Carson Wentz is just running around throwing just 50-50 balls getting picked off.
I don't know what happened to him, man.
I don't know. And he's another guy. I think I'm kind of interested to see him and Darnold go to new teams and kind of to see what they're going to do. I feel like one of them is gonna turn it on. I actually like Darnold. Do you still like Darnold?
I feel bad for him, dude. I watch because I do a video on the rookie tackles. I watch Beckman every week. I feel so bad for him. He like, especially this past week. It's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get a win. Like losing is so miserable. And then Greg Williams pulls that shit at the end. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you like They hate going to work every day. Like if they hate going to work every day, they're defeated. So I want to see Darnold go to the Colts. I get Carson Wentz has had a raw deal, but Carson Wentz also the Eagles aren't the worst roster in the NFL. Like Wentz has more to work with. Where Darnold has zero chance. Where Wentz has some chances. Darnold has zero chance with the Jets right now.
It's all that again, it's Metsy Jetsy stuff. He has all the stuff behind the scenes and even stuff that isn't even like Jets related. Like seeing Ghosts makes it onto ESPN, even though it shouldn't have. Like there's just something haunted about that team right now. And I feel like the Colts. I didn't even think about the Colts because I love the Colts. I'm always every week I'll take them in my bets and stuff like that. So them getting him. A lot of people say Big Ben's replacement could be Darnold. I don't think if the Eagles could even ship out Wentz, they'd never trade him inside the state because that would just be like talking about Civil War. That would be oh my god, that'd be so great. I bought this arcade game right here, an old Street Fighter 2 machine years ago, and I had to go to Pennsylvania to pick it up, and I had to drive through Philly, and I turned on WIP, and it was the day Terrell Owens was doing the sit-ups in his driveway. It was, how you just have like those like hate listens, and it just is like it was the most beautiful. It was just all these Philly fans trade them, kill them, shoot them into the sun. It was the most beautiful day of talk radio I've ever heard of. It was better than like hearing the radio after the Giants won the Super Bowl. Just hearing all those evil, angry Eagles fans in their Philly accents just screaming about Terrell Owens. It's
crazy how that went south. So I mean, Terrell Owens goes to the first he went to the Ravens, and then it's like, oh, he's not on the Ravens. Then he goes to the Eagles.
Right.
You remember his first game was the Giants, three touchdown game versus the Giants was his first game with the Eagles, and he just hated Donovan McNabb so much.
He just hated him. That was one of those things. It was kind of like us in a much different sense, but with Plexico, where Plexico was the Eagles' killer, and then it just ended. He was just gone. You know what I mean? And then we just our rivalry with the Eagles just kind of flipped on its head. So yeah, it was. Oh man, that felt so goddamn good. And I saw this guy here, Wally Joe 666. The Eagles will totally screw up Trevor Lawrence's career. I do like. That's the ultimate test. Like I feel like it sounds like Joe Douglas knows what he's doing, and if ownership kind of stays out of his way, he should be all right to put it together. But that's kind of one of those like ultimate what if moments, right? Like if they can't get past Trevor, if they can't make Trevor Lawrence like a great player, at some point you just have to hope the owner sells the team because I feel like there's no other way it's ever going to get fixed.
I'm kind of rooting for Trevor Lawrence to fail because every time he did like even the most basic play, people like generational throw right here. I was like I muted the words Trevor Lawrence from my timeline when we were 0-5. It was like I maybe we draft him, maybe we're in the first pick, but I just can't deal with this right now.
Oh God, all that tanking talk, like that's such broken. And listen, come like last year, I'll fully admit, like I was like, I won't be upset if Washington beats us here and we get Chase Young. Like I'll fully admit, I have no. At that point, the season's over. But like week 4 or 5 in a new regime with a second-year quarterback, you can't just be like, oh, let's tank and then go for a quarterback and hit the reset button again. I thought that was craziness. So I never muted Trevor Lawrence, but I was pretty close. At least Justin Fields, I was going to mute. Like, guys, go for it all. Just don't like root for any other quarterback other than Daniel Jones, who, I mean, this week, I'm going to be so nervous all week. I get nervous enough because I feel like the pro Daniel Jones guys, the second he throws a pick, we are the ones who just get like ripped on. So I feel like I'm like his mom watching the game, you know?
I'm
So
the same way. I'm the same way. I get
really
anytime he makes a mistake, I get people tweeting at me like, does he elevate talent here? Does he like it makes me want to be like, it makes me like want to be like, I wish Twitter wasn't real. I wish we could say these things to each other's faces because I want to lose my mind. I'm the opposite of you. I am like so arrogant, and then as soon as the kickoff starts, then I get nervous. But like up into the game, I convince myself like we're gonna win this game. We're gonna win it big.
Yeah, I go out to the grocery store. I'll like go do errands, like whatever it is, just to burn that nervous energy. And then once the game starts, and I'm now like I'm by myself watching these games, and I'm clapping, I'm screaming at the TV. I wasn't really like that. I was a pretty reserved football fan, but I just feel like there's so much on the line with, I mean, I guess Judge is, you know, I think we know what he is now, but Daniel Jones, I just want him to be like, I think he's good. I just want him to like have that moment. Like I thought he was going to have in the Bengals game. He gets hurt. I thought he was going to be able to tear up the Seattle defense. Obviously couldn't play. I think the zone of defense is clearly the best defense out of the three, right? So I guess Seattle's gotten a little better recently with Dunlap and Adams being back, but I just want Daniel Jones to have that, you know, 300-yard, 3-touchdown game, no turnovers, and everyone just shuts up about it once and for all.
And what's frustrating is we know he can do it. Like we saw him do it 4 or 5 times last year. And I hate the argument. It's like, oh, well, his best games were against bad teams. It's like, yeah, so are everybody's. Like everyone plays better against the bad teams.
Exactly. And I don't think he really – the first half of the season, he had some really good defenses there, right? Like it was San Fran.
Murderer's row of
Rams,
defenses.
the Bears, the Steelers. And like the Steelers now aren't what the Steelers were week 1 when Dupree was healthy and Bush was healthy and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I just want him just to have a game to shut everyone up. I'm still offended that – when they had that second Eagles game, at that point, Daniel Jones didn't even lead the NFC East in turnovers or fumbles. It was Carson Wentz in both. Everywhere I looked on my timeline, it was how Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. And I didn't hear a word about Carson Wentz until like the last 3 weeks or so when it really started to go bad. So that's kind of when being a New York fan, that's when being a New York sports fan kind of sucks, is when everything you do. Kristaps Porzingis is the worst player in basketball before he plays a game.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal. And he's fixed the fumbles. If he didn't fumble the way he did his rookie year, we would never talk about fumbles after the season. Now, obviously, it's fair because the fumbles were historically bad last year, but this year it's like it's less than cut in half, which, you know, he's like top 10 in the league, and then but you know the QBs are always gonna be the top 10. So it does bother me though that he has more interceptions than touchdowns. I get that there's nuance to it and we're running it in, but I hate the fact that he has more interceptions. He has 8 touchdowns. Like that's what, like if I looked at another QB in the league, I would be like that's disgusting. And part of it is why I hate Jason Garrett. It's like this guy threw 5 in one game, and it's like you can't. And now it's 8 through 12.
That stopped me from talking a lot of shit on Twitter because they could just go back and just look at, you know, just pull up the numbers and it looks so ugly. But it's like he's run a few in, he's handed them off from the one. That's when Evan Ingram's tackled at the one, get in the goddamn end zone, you know? Yeah. So this is not going to be the stat year. The crazy thing is people look at the stats. It's like his rookie year, he was awesome with the 24-12. It's just the fumbles were such an ugly underbelly of that entire thing. And it's kind of like, we kind of went through this with David Wilson, right? It was like fumble, fumble, fumble. And then first play of the Dallas game that year, fumbles, and it was like, this is going to be the story for the rest of the season. And that kind of is what happened to Jones. Hopefully we can bury the narrative. I don't know if you remember what game it was. It might have been the first Eagles game. I feel like there was one play where he just threw it away and another where he got hit and he didn't fumble. And I was like, those were the best 2 plays of the game. I don't care if we win or lose. The fact he didn't fumble there was like such a little baby growth step. One small step for a quarterback, one giant leap for a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. That was the end of that Washington game where he just got lit up.
Yeah.
And then there was another one. And like the Eagles game, it's like Evan Engram has been the cause of so much pain this year. Like it's unreal how bad things happen with him. Like the Eagles game, the dropped, you know, he had a drop pass that went for an interception, the drop pass that would have won the game. The 49ers game where he missed the reverse, fumbling the ball against the Bengals, the interception, like it's crazy how many interceptions that guy has caused. What sucks is he's a likable guy. He's not cocky at all. I feel so like if you ever watch some of his interviews, it's like I feel bad for this guy. He just can't catch the ball. And when he doesn't, it'd be one thing if he drops it. Whenever he drops it, he like pops it up in the air like a volleyball and it turns into an interception.
He has like that little it factor like Larry Donnell, and he's a much different player than Larry Donnell, but like he drove you crazy. He has a couple moments where you're like, oh my God, like a tight end can do that. And in the end, you're just like cursing him and blaming him. PFF does all these stats, like do like turnovers caused, because I want those Daniel Jones interceptions to then go to Larry Donnell. I'm sorry, I'm calling Larry Donnell, Evan Engram. It's the Ruben Randall special, right? How many times did Eli throw the ball to the right spot and Ruben Randall was the reason that got intercepted? That's what Evan Engram is. And then he does the one play that like saves the game, and you're like, oh God, like I hate you, but thank you for making that incredible catch there, right there. So it's really, he is Evan Enigma, man. I don't think he's ever going to change. I just hope maybe the good outweighs the bad, or he just like sucks a little more at both. So it's like he does it. The bad may not be as bad, but the good won't be as good. I can live with that. Get Caden Smith healthy, up to speed, and like that's the kind of goofy tight end we need, running and blocking and all that kind of stuff.
It just depends if we win or lose. Like the Bengals game, the fumble, it's like, yeah, but he had a good game. Or any other, if we lost that game, like that scumbag Evan Engram fumbled the ball again.
I'm going to be talking about that Eagles drop. If we don't win the division by one game or we miss the playoffs by one game, I'm just going to watching that Eagles game. It's going to be like Ray Finkel in his house. I'm just going to be watching it on loop and just saying revenge.
Before we took over first place, every day I would think about that drop. Like, and I'm not even like trying to be like, I'm not exaggerating. Like every day I would think about like, if Evan Engram just catches that pass on Thursday Night Football, my whole life is different right now.
We're 4-1 in the division at that point, and like everything just looks better. And granted, our record still isn't great, but I mean, he catches that. We're 6-6 right now. We're 4-1 in the division, and we can start like really getting. I mean, everyone gave up. I had all these Giants fans hitting me up and saying like, I can't believe Washington won this game. Like they're going to take home the division now. I'm like, guys, we're fine right now. Don't worry about anyone else. Just worry about ourselves. And as I say that, I'm like still watching Evan Ingram's fingertips drop that ball. That was a tough one.
Yeah. And back on Jones is people fall in love with the new thing every year. And I get it. Like Justin Herbert, like I was like all these like, and I hate the prime time young QB makes a good throw and be like, Daniel Jones could make this throw. And then it's like, then I'll clip it and be like, no, actually he made basically the same throw. And then people are like, oh my gosh, you're so like butthurt. It's like, well, you guys are making stuff up and I'm getting aggravated. And you look at Herbert's stats compared to this year's, Jones's last year, they're basically the same. I mean, Herbert through 11 games has like 23 touchdowns, 9 picks, and Jones through 12 had 24 and 12, and Herbert's coming off his worst game against the Patriots. So like their stats are almost identical for games played.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, I think being a New York team and just having the little things to harp about is what'll cause all that. And it's crazy too, because the mental gymnastics that'll be done, because I mean, Gettleman loved him. I think we were all salivating over the thought of Justin Herbert. I hate Oregon, but I was like, you know what? I'll believe in this Oregon quarterback. He's going to be the one. And then he went back, and I was like, I'm out. I'm toast.
Yeah. I actually think that's why some people are really hard on, not everybody. And like Jones hasn't proven anything yet, either. So I don't want to act like he's, we should be crowned. But I have realized with some people, it's like, oh, Jones means Gettleman, and you hate Gettleman. So Jones not being good means Gettleman. Like I've kind of made that connection with a few people. It's like, oh, that's why. Like you just really like you. Every time he does something bad, you say something. When he does something good, you're kind of quiet. It's because you want Gettleman gone.
That's 100%, and that's kind of the Leonard Williams thing too. I think those are the two kind of faces of Gettleman on each side of the ball. It's Jones and Williams. Taking Jones at 6, trading a 3rd and a 5th for Williams, and now, I mean, again, we'll still see about Jones. I mean, the guys who are hating him are the ones lighting prayer candles right now that his hamstring's going to be all right. And I don't think you can really trash Leonard Williams at all after this. But it is like a 1-to-1. And Daniel Jones at 6. Well, we could have drafted him at 17. You don't know that. I don't think
they would have either. Jay Gruden loved Daniel Jones, from what everybody heard. We know Elway supposedly want him. I don't believe that. And
I know someone who had a contact in Denver, and he said as they were in love with Jones. The reason they traded back, no matter what they say to the public, was because they wanted Daniel Jones. And I have a guy who said that, and he was like 100% confident. So I'm going to take that for what it is. And again, listen, I love pass rushers. Not having an edge is killing me right now. And Josh Allen could have been that guy. I mean, Dexter Lawrence he has more sacks. He had more sacks than Josh Allen before he got hurt, right? So it's like if we're just looking at sack numbers this season, it's like and Sexy Dexy, they're causing chaos in the line. So I don't know, man. I hate that like what if game. It's like mock drafts and all this other stuff. Like in fantasy football, take the guy you want, draft me. Don't think about it the draft the rest of the season.
And I'm a big believer of if you think a QB is worth like if you believe in a QB, then you pick him. Yep. And that's why I was like, I think people can find me the outliers. I think picking a QB in rounds 2 through 7 is a waste of a draft pick. It's like either you believe in the guy enough to pick a first, be a franchise. If not, there's no point of wasting. Like you don't believe in him. If you didn't believe in him enough to take a first round pick, you don't believe in him. So that's kind of my mindset with QBs.
I say if you love him, round 1, and then but I'm also of the mindset of. Actually, because of Russell Wilson, I'm always like, if you want to take one every year and like day 2 or 3, go for it at that point. You know what I mean? And just try to like, hopefully you catch a Russell Wilson in a bottle or something like that. And I know the odds in that are 1 in a million, but when you hit, it's an unbelievable. Now we kind of did that, right? And we never saw these guys. They never took the field. We got Geno Smith instead of any of the other guys we drafted those years. I was calling Kyle Lauletta Jimmy G 2.0, just trying to build myself up. And like, we never got to see these guys. It's unbelievable that we went that entire like end of the Jerry Reese era without seeing any of those guys on the field. It was truly remarkable. And I think I'm going to lump Saquon into that as well. It's Saquon, Daniel Jones, and Leonard Williams are kind of the face of the Gettleman because, taking running back at 2, taking Jones at 6 instead of 17 or above Haskins, which again, people like were mad we didn't take Haskins. Darnold I can understand, but like a lot of people, those people like Josh Rosen too. And it's like, guys, you're just out, you're stitching at yourselves as being worst general managers that Dave Gettleman could ever be, right? So
I wasn't anyone but Haskins that year. I was like, I'll take anybody but Haskins.
I just want to put my opinion on the table too. I'm not smarter. I go into every draft like this. I don't know what I'm talking about. You tell me what I'm looking at in the video. Baldy tells me what I'm looking at. I like guys, but I'll like coach myself up. And like I said, when they drafted Daniel Jones, I was like, I can't believe we did that at 6 after thinking it was gonna be 17. And the next I was like, we're all behind Daniel Jones. This is our guy. And like, imagine coming to New York and knowing millions of people hate you before you even take the field. That's a tough road to hoe for a young kid.
He's the dude who was able to. That's one thing that is people don't talk about with him is whatever goes on in his brain is unlike most people. Like the ability to just not be like, I'm sure it bothers him a little bit, but like the fact that like that just doesn't faze him. That's where the Eli comparisons are there, and those are like that's the thing we like the most about Eli.
100%.
And like you're saying, yeah. I do a ton of draft stuff, but even me, I'm like I don't really know. Like like I still have that disclaimer of like I don't like I never ever got to talk to these guys. I've watched like 2-3 games of each of them. I don't know. Like, I don't know everything. Like, I loved Andrew Thomas. But I was like, if they take Wills, I'm not going to be mad. Like, they know more than me about this stuff.
And no one knows. That's the whole thing about the draft. You go back and you look, you're like, oh my God, what the hell were they thinking there? And it happens every single year. If there was like any sort of a science to it, it would be, people would be crushing. There would just be teams. Bill Belichick, you know what he does? He just keeps trading down and he just takes guys and he gets guys that fit his system, which is, I think, what we're going to look to do now, the Joe Judge way, right? And whatever him and Gettleman, this brain trust together, it's working. And I think you have to kind of give Gettleman that too. A lot of people are like, well, these players wouldn't have worked in Shermer's system. Well, Dave Gettleman hired Joe Judge. So that counts as Dave Gettleman's like hire too, right? Like that goes with all these other trade and draft picks is he's the one who hired the guy who none of us had ever heard of until he got hired basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of my philosophy with coach, like, cause the draft stuff I can get a formulated opinion on. I think a lot of times like hire someone I don't know for coach or GM or whoever, because those usually are the ones that end up like everyone crapped on Sean McVay. Everyone crapped on Cliff Kingsbury. And those are the guys that seem to turn out now. The same with Joe Judge. I'll finish off with this. How good did it feel? And I did the clip of every rep to have Andrew Thomas shut down Chase Young. That felt so good. Because I got so much heat, like for we got a tank for Chase Young. This is the biggest mistake in Giants history. This is a historic. We're gonna regret this for years. And they match up. And Andrew Thomas, who wasn't like balling at that point, just totally shuts down Chase Young. I mean, that was I never felt so good clipping up a video than doing that one.
I blogged that video, and I had missed it on Twitter when you had tweeted it, and I got hit up by my guy Nate, who's the Washington blogger, and was like, "It pains me to send this to you," but he's like, "But this is pretty good," and I was like, "Oh," I go, and I think I go, "Oh, I didn't know Bobby did that," and I got so excited, I like ran to my computer, and I mean, I was making all the jokes about when they what was it, like the Army game or one of those like high school games where they were doing
the Texas All-Star, the Army All-Star game or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and he like, owned Chase Young, and Chase Young was like, I mean, honestly, like 150 pounds lighter than he is now. Like he doesn't even look like the same person.
I actually posted that video too, and I got so much hate for that. That's the most viewed video on our Instagram, is that video of Washington fans and Giants fans just going at it for like months. That video was getting like comments and likes and all kinds of stuff. It's like, obviously we're just talking trash. Like we're not using this as like evidence for why we drafted him.
But I mean, Chase Young, I'm rooting against every step of the way of his whole career now. You kind of have to, and I mean, it's beautiful to see. Like you could have Chase Young, he's going to cause havoc, but if we have the Chase Young stopper, then it doesn't matter 2 times a year. And all the people who were crapping on, Daniel Jones, all he could do is beat Washington. Thank God that's all he does is beat Washington, because if he didn't, we would be in second place or worse right now. So thank God Daniel Jones refuses to lose to the Washington football team. And yeah, the karate chop or whatever that, like, he just like shoves him with one hand. That's my favorite part. I laugh every time I see that part of the video with Andrew Thomas. It's incredible.
I love it. All right, Clem, dude, I appreciate you giving me some time. We'll definitely do this again, after we win a Super Bowl or whatever, whatever fate has in store for us this season. I've convinced myself. I've taken a why not us approach. Dude, I appreciate you giving us some time, man.
That was a ball, man. Like I said, I love what you guys are doing. You guys crush it. Tell Justin, he gets all fired up. I love how fired up he gets too. I just see him online. He's chirping at people. So that'll be a 12-game winning streak if we win the Super Bowl. I'm trying to do my math right now. So it would be 8
12
plus 4, right? So 12. So after the 12-game winning streak, back on, we'll be talking and chopping it up. Save that soundbite if that actually comes to fruition.
We joke, but like I legit am like, what? I have this what if mindset. It's the eternal optimist in me. All right, dude. Thanks.
No problem, my friend.